I am Jennifer DeLia.
And I am Brionne Davis.
That's right. Extraordinaire.
Jen, I feel like we've become closer and closer and closer and closer.
And closer.
It's pretty amazing. You visited my house a couple of weeks ago to work on a project, which was extraordinary.
We are in the works with something.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty phenomenal. It's transformative. It's generous. It's open. It's experiential. It's experimental. It's next level. And what are we calling it?
Well, the working title so far has been Dark Beauty, because there is beauty in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we are going through mega transformation right now, right?
Yeah. What we don't see, what we and quite honestly, we don't see it always. We're so blinded by the stuff, by the stuff. Woke up from the view. All right, yeah, because we're blinded by what we don't have, or we're wrapped up in what we don't have, and so we're not focused and centered around what we do, and we're not able to see through that darkness, like the victimization of the experiences that we're choosing to live in. And I feel like that this and your leadership in this, and kind of everything you've done leading up to, is a testament to that and that narrative.
A testament to transformation and seeing the light in the dark.
Seeing what is possible.
Uh-oh.
Why does my phone keep going out? Sorry.
Waiting on Brionne.
There we go. Sorry. My phone keeps going out.
The Paris International Film Festival just joined us on Instagram.
Hello, Paris.
Which is really, really cool. Should I say the news now because they're there?
Well, I tell you what, I'd like for a few more people to come on board so that we can share in the excitement, the announcement that you're going to be making here in about, I don't know, let's give them 7 minutes. That's a good number, or 4 minutes. 7 minutes and 44 seconds. We are going to have an announcement.
The 44. I actually just looked up 744 as an angel number that I've been seeing a lot lately, and you just said 7 minutes and 44 seconds without actually knowing that.
That's the synchronicity.
Sense. Obviously, we've been communicating.
That is it. So what did you discover in 744?
I don't remember all the precise details, but I do know it is like major completion of cycles, big purge, maybe of many lifetimes, and just knowing that we have the choice to make. We are sovereign beings, and so how we live our life is really, really up to us. And those numbers are very confirming. And Mary Pickford knew this. She actually wrote a pamphlet about universal love, hence the title of my film, Why Not Choose Love? A Mary Pickford Manifesto.
Which is a beautiful film. And if you guys are listening and you haven't gone to see some of the images, it's experiential, it's artistic, it's adventurous, it's outside the box. It weaves in the fabric of music and art and vision and next step. There's no confines that you don't kind of at least step outside of in this film. The actors are phenomenal, every one of them. And that was something that I loved. We got to work together on that, kind of a hint toward that. And Jen, I think one of the things that I get, and you've said in your statements with me before and in our conversations, I watched you dive in and connect with actors in a way that was so beautiful and so connected and so direct and so present with them.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a space opened and then you went zoomed in. Me as an actor, I do the zoom in, right? And sometimes as a director I do, but I saw you do it in a way that was so beautiful, so eloquent. It was like a dance.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. To be able to connect with actors, that's how you get a performance, making them feel safe, making them feel, you know, they can trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching the time because it's almost 7:44. We have about 3 more minutes.
I mean, thank you for saying that. I definitely do consider myself an actor's director, but also I love acting myself. I think it's like an intricate part of what it means to be alive. I don't think you need to be a professional actor to study the act of like active listening and being present and emotionally spontaneous. Like, I think that's what acting is. So it's really great to like provide a space to humans and artists to be real and raw, you know?
Well, isn't that interesting how, because really, and I'm not going to disagree with that, because really, what do we do, me as a teacher, as a coach, and then when I step into directing, what is that process of teaching? That process of teaching is get rid of all the walls, get rid of all the barriers, get rid of everything that's confining you, that's that cycle of communication that literally stops us here, because we're taught, don't speak out, don't go with your intuition, don't go with your impulse. And that's what acting is being impulsive, right? And we're trained not to. So that's really what the process and the teaching of acting is, to break away all those social constructs.
Yeah.
And live. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, Yeah,
no, go ahead.
You go. You're leading.
All right. So I love that you called me this weekend and we talked about putting together this conversation, and we're about 3 minutes away from the news.
That's okay.
And the conversation, because you and I had some really amazing breakthrough, vulnerable, beautiful conversations that were self-awareness, self-acknowledgement, walking through having a simultaneous observation of self and a responsibility around that feeling. And as leaders in the industry, as people that brave to put our voices out there and brave to speak up, as you do, we're going to face challenges, right? We're going to face opposition. We're going to face rejection. We're going to face all of these things. And one of the beautiful things, one of the beautiful conversations that we have had among many was about a week ago, right? Tuesday.
Yeah.
And we both had an epiphany around that. And then it kind of sparked this conversation that we'd like to share with everybody. And that conversation revolves around an authentic, vulnerable, it's like an authentic and vulnerable awareness of self, authentic and vulnerable awareness of who I am in every single moment. And there's nothing, in my experience, like being in the face of adversary, the face of conflict, that challenges our inner insecurities more than film. I mean, obviously, war, right? And the need to be right, and the need to the need to see self while being in that leadership role. So 1 minute away from the announcement. So we're setting it up. We're setting it up because we're going to talk about the Mary Pickford movie. The Why Not Choose Love, a Mary Pickford Manifesto. Is that exactly how I pronounce it? Say it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we get to we get to dive in to the experience that you had. And this is, I just got chills because
Me
what
too.
you're
I just got
doing,
chills.
yeah, because you're sharing with the world right now. You're
Mhm.
sharing with so many artists and actors and directors
Mhm.
that might have mental blocks or are afraid of being vulnerable, but we're about to go there. We're about to
Okay.
take it on, and we're going to let ego and rejection and hurt and pain and all that stuff, we're just going to let it fly because we're going to
Yeah.
obsess and have an awareness around our humanity.
Yay.
And that's next level shit. So we've got the announcement to make. Let's do
Yeah.
this.
So it's really cool because actually I started the process of working on this film in 2011, 1-1, which is also like a big number for starting things. And almost 10 years later, because we're in 2021, actually it was later in the year in 2011, but let's just say 10 years later, we are finally world premiering the film officially
Wow.
at the Paris International Film Festival,
Wow.
which is in its third year. So it's also at the cutting edge. It's new. And it's as many days as Cannes, which is amazing. They have like a massive program of incredible films from all over the world, and with a heavy focus on diversity and empowerment and feminine energy, and also bold content, social change, documentary on really, really important subjects. They're a really progressive, powerful festival. So it's exciting for us to be aligning with them. And in fact, our premiere is coinciding with the actual birthday of United Artists, which Mary Pickford founded 102 years ago with Douglas Fairbanks and Charlie Chaplin and D.W. Griffith as like the first independent studio. And so it feels like really, really cool timing to be 10 years into the project on the birthday of United Artists, premiering with Paris and celebrating this legacy and the power of the woman.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm. And what a woman Mary Pickford was, right?
yeah, she was incredible. Yeah, she founded a lot of things. She founded the Academy. She founded United Artists. She was the first female to produce. She was the first actor to produce. She was the first philanthropist in Hollywood.
A woman.
She was notably female.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying a woman because that's novelty. It's only novelty in that we've heard about, the big Goldwyn Mayer, these big, influencers that
Mm-hmm.
kind of moved the Judy Garlands and the women, the powerhouse women. But then we have these notable women that stood out against all odds, right? And stood out and laid their claim. Lucille Ball and these amazing powerhouse women. And then Mary Pickford was the mother of us all in
Yeah,
many.
she's the mother of Hollywood,
Yeah.
the storytelling field that became this massive global phenomenon, a machine,
Mhm.
an industry and content creation world, for better and for worse.
It raises such an interesting question. We don't have to answer this right now. Let's just okay, guys, just to reiterate, if you're just now joining us, Mary Pickford, the movie, premieres, the world premiere at the Paris Film Festival,
Paris International, which
International
is
Film Festival. What's the date?
February 4th through 14th.
Awesome.
And birthday of United Artists is February 5th. And Valentine's Day is the 14th. So this is a
Why not
very
choose
sweet,
love?
sweet time.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's no accident that I have the Eiffel Tower right behind all my trash.
Oh my gosh, I was going to say, I actually heard a rumor that I think is true, that the festival, if it was in person and not virtual, was going to be having their events on the roof of the Eiffel Tower.
Wow.
From
That's
what I
crazy.
heard. And I was going to bring it up, and I was like, it's virtual, so. But you brought it up.
Yeah. This raises a question. So now we've confirmed that. We'll put it down in the comments. Everybody get your tickets. Make sure that you're there. It's going
get
to
your
be
tickets.
a phenomenal. It's just a beautiful film. I also want to do a screening at my house. We're going to do that soon. Yes. Tickets are $5,000 a piece. Everybody bring your own mask. Yeah. I'm joking. That's not, I don't know. Maybe we can do that. So United Artists birthday on the 5th. February 14th, the closing night of the festival, is also Valentine's Day. The name of the film is Mary Pickford, the Mary Pickford movie, Why Not Choose Love, a Mary Pickford Manifesto.
Yeah, okay. Why Not Choose Love, a Mary Pickford Manifesto. Okay, so it's a mouthful, I know.
This film is, I've already stated my opinion of it. It's very indie. It's very indie in that
you're like going in and out your voice.
Oh, these earbuds might be weird. Okay. Guys, if I end up dropping you, we're going to go over to Facebook. So we are on Facebook. So go Facebook Live if you're joining us here. If I end up dropping you, I'm having technical difficulties. So can you hear me now? Okay.
It's in and out. You don't have one of these, right? Those fancy earbuds, man, like for some reason, everyone I know that has them, it's like an issue. It's funny.
You know what? Because I'm getting new headphones for my desktop, and I don't know.
I can hear you now though, so as you're doing that, we can still.
All right. So I can't do two things at once. I'm not that person.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I'm probably going to go off of Instagram and just go onto here since we're on Facebook, and we'll just put it up later. Might be better. So I can be really focused.
Okay. So you don't want to switch it out? Is that what you're saying? We'll just see what happens.
It's going to be, I don't want to. Oh, there it is. Let's see what this does.
It's totally up to you.
Oh, but that's going to end up, I need to do it on here. There's my ceiling, everyone. Nope, I can't do it on there.
And by the way, guys, Brionne is an incredible actor and director. I know him mainly as an actor, but I know he's good at all the things.
I love all the things. And I think when you love all the things, you figure out a way to be good at it. Yeah, that's not going to work because I don't have a thing. I don't have a hole in my phone to put.
Oh, you can plug it into the laptop if you want.
It's in my desktop. And then yeah.
Okay. Don't worry about it. Let's just see what happens.
All right. Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. Oh, hi.
Oh my God, you sound so clear. It's like a whole new world.
Well, I did put these in the washer.
Okay, so we are here to talk about the story behind the story of Why Not Choose Love.
Mm-hmm.
Reset, take two.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's what we'll do. Okay, anyway, sorry I wasn't, I thought I was prepared for that.
Guess that's not. Okay, these things happen.
So Mary Pickford story, here we are. Yes. And we're gonna go deep. We're gonna spend the next 25 minutes talking about vulnerability, talking about leadership, talking about, I don't need these, talking about what it is that, why vision can overcome, and how vision can overcome all of the, how vision can overcome all the obstacles, that there's no obstacles when we liquefy and we can move around. So talk to me about, let's just go there.
That's amazing. You don't need your headset? That's so cool.
I guess not, because this volume is up and that's down, so.
Okay, that's amazing. Okay. As long as I can, yeah, cool. Okay, so what was your question?
All right, so we're going there. So we have an experience. You, I would consider a visionary, right? That's definitely my go-to. I live in the fifth dimension all the time. That's where visionaries live. And sometimes we have to go in and we have to live in the mechanic of the now, this version of the reality, right? Which is 3D world. This is what we're experiencing now. And that's what the filmmaking process is, right? You're in the vision, you've got this amazing film, you have this love and appreciation for this icon who is Mary Pickford, and you begin to see it. You begin to see it before a thing is written, before anything is the actors are cast, you begin to see it. So let's just do a quick, here's beginning, middle, and end storyline, Joseph Campbell style. Jen is the hero of the story. What were some of the things from that kind of come out as a filmmaker during your process of making this particular movie? Not movies in general, your artistic experience, the things you traversed and faced during this process. Give me three. Let's start with one.
Things that, okay, that was a lot. So things that were artistic.
So things that,
because you talked about the vision, like when it's coming before the project is really manifest. That was something you spoke about. But then you spoke about challenges that were artistic, like things that I just want to answer the question like clear.
So I'll be really clear. So I set the tone. Here's this vision that you've created for yourself. You see it, you know it's going to be possible, you've got it. Bam, awesome, cool. Now you begin the process. You begin casting, you begin creating the script, you begin location scouting. These are all the things that in the reality that you get to create and handle. Okay? In that process, there are obstacles, there are things that you have to face, you get to face, the roads that you have to traverse to
so like for example, like in the early days, people would, I mean, I guess this is along the lines of what you're asking, but this is what comes to mind. People would question me as the director or try to get me to step away from directing because I was a young director, not in age per se, but in movies. Like this was my second movie. And so investors, because we had to raise all the money ourselves, would say, we love the story and we love Pickford, but would you be willing to just accept a producer role? And we bring in, like a seasoned director. That came up quite a few times. And so thankfully, my producing partner at the time and I knew that wasn't an option. It didn't matter how like glam and sparkly it seemed to be, like the idea of some big famous director coming in and some big famous actress and us making a bunch of money and maybe working with a studio or a bigger company we didn't consider it like at all, which is very rare. Like you would think we would have at least once thought, maybe, but we didn't. So it was really interesting just to say, no, sorry, that's not the movie that we're making. But because I'm a producer too, I actually understood the question. It wasn't like it made me feel inadequate. It was just really frustrating because I was like, who is going to back me as the director? Not like I can't do it because these people are saying these things. Like I didn't feel that way at all. I knew I could and should and would. But it was like, how long is it going to take to get there? If that's like one of the overarching questions that keeps coming up in these meetings, this is where people are at, star value, many movies under your belt kind of thing. At least with regard to the movie I was making, which seemed like a big biopic, and how can she do this? It's such a big life and story. Maybe a different type of movie, they wouldn't have questioned my capacity. So it's all like linked, Also, I can say that the script we were showing people at the time, or even the treatment, which at that time wasn't written by me, it was written by a super incredible writer who had a lot more experience than me. And I'm sharing a co-writing credit with him, even though I did end up doing a lot of the writing on the final shooting script. But I got so much out of like what he put into it in the early days. So what we were presenting to people was much more of a conventional biopic, much more of the Hollywood like glam version of Pickford.
She gets out of the car, she goes into the office.
There's like tons of people on the street and like all the things that like were an aspect of her experience. Mm-hmm. And actually I love that script and I love that version of her story. Mm-hmm. But it ultimately wasn't the version I was going to tell. I had to come to terms too with how much more interested I was in her internal psyche and what it meant to birth a medium or like birth an art form and to be the first celebrity in a fishbowl, not the experience of having 100,000 people on the street in terms of that exterior way, but actually what did that feel like inside the psyche, So I ended up rewriting it to reflect that experience more so. And so in the end, I was grateful for the challenges people were presenting me with in terms of should I be the director? Because actually the question for me was, is this the story I want to tell? Had nothing to do with me directing. I knew I would be directing. But actually it gave me the time to like question, is this the way I want to tell her story?
Yeah.
And I was able to come up with the answer to that and write something that felt, more authentic to my voice as an artist. But it was brutal going to those meetings. And it is something that people need to know about when they're getting into this world, that, you will be questioned, you will be challenged. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you kind of got to know where you stand on certain things, where your integrity lies, I guess you could say,
Yeah, and I love this because inevitably, if you're an actor, if you're a director, if you're a writer, you're going to go through this. You're going to go through it. And it's how we stick to that vision, because you had a vision. And that vision was grander than any of the obstacles. It was it was bigger than you. It was bigger than any questions that might come about your credibility, or are you going to be able to sell the movie, etc. And you hit on something which was the answer to my next question, which was, why not give that release? And what you said was, I'm willing to go 10 years to make my story be seen. That's what you said. Like, that's my interpretation of one of the things you said.
It's an interesting interpretation because in real time, I didn't know that.
No, of course
I
not.
was still, every year I was like, and we're shooting this year, and we're shooting this year, and we're shooting this year.
But that's one of the obstacles that you were willing to deal with in order for you to be able to tell this story from the perspective of her psyche. And that was what was so important to you. And knowing that time, as you and I have discussed, is irrelevant to this mechanic, right? It will be presented at the perfect time. And I would say that right now is the perfect time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And any of the people that were asking that question were not people that we should have partnered with either.
Right.
So there is like a cosmic like filtering system in the creative process or in the process of creation, whether you're talking about a project or life itself. Oftentimes the things that seem like rejection are really saving graces, actually, you know?
Yeah. All right. I love this. I love this subject. And I just want to add two more things on this, because for anyone out there that's got a vision, that's got a passion, that's got something that they're so connected with internally, and especially someone that is a mentor and a role model that you admire and you respect, and you're wanting to tell that story and give that story justice as you see it. Because in many ways, Mary Pickford is living through you through this process. And to allow that control, and I don't like the word control, but allow that vision to be handed over to someone else. That person is not the lifeline. That person is not the artery to this story. Mary Pickford came through you to tell this story. Mary Pickford also worked through the actress, who's phenomenal. Oh, I got chills again. Mary Pickford infused this entire cast and crew with her love and her inspiration and her joy, and it's reflected in every shot. Otherwise, if it'd been in the hands of someone else, I just see this kind of like two-toned kind of like offices, and her fighting to get the contract and her fighting to get this. It's so much more than that. It's like you said, you go into her psyche, and in her psyche is this beautiful art, these amazing images.
Yeah.
And that's what you relate. And I honestly feel that right now is the time for it to be released. And I also feel everything is perfect. And when you got a vision and you're passionate about something, stick to it. I've been in 3 different experiences where this has happened. That they challenged the director. I wasn't the director. They challenged the director. Actually, I was on one of them. They challenged the director. Didn't have enough experience. I was the lead actor in the film. I wasn't big enough name, even though I'd done all this other stuff, to lead the film. So they were challenged with all of these things because they wanted the money to support getting the feature done. And unfortunately, I don't know where it's at. I think they ended up selling it to a company in Canada, but it didn't get made. It didn't get made. It's not getting made. And 2 others are not getting made because they cut the artery of the story. They cut the lifeline of the story, and you are the artery of this story.
Cool. I love how art is an artery.
Art. You are the artery. So great. So that was a big challenge, and it's a challenge because here's the thing. Everybody, and that's another thing I'm trying to get away from, is me going, here's the thing. I'm learning. In my experience, we get to be in vision. We get to commit to ourselves. We get to be in integrity with our word. And by doing that, our visions will come through.
Yes.
So stick to it, and you create what it is. Okay, so that was a big challenge right off the gate. Challenging, making you feel like uncertain at times, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Frustrated, I'm sure sometimes. These are emotional triggers. So now we're gonna go there. We're gonna go like that. So these are some emotional triggers that probably come up for a lot of artists. That I don't necessarily believe that you have the skill. I don't necessarily believe that you have the following or the celebrity or the ability to raise money, etc. because of something. But when you have vision and passion, that can overcome. So some triggers are blame. This is kind of across the board in general. Okay, setting this question up: blame, shame, frustration, fear of not being heard, being misunderstood. Mine is a scarcity thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have shared with me one of your trigger points, which is a beautiful admission. And I think this is incredible, and this is definitely a sign of leadership when we can acknowledge what our trigger points are, accept them, go, oh, okay, I'm feeling this. Let me move around this so that I can stay in my vision. Okay, share with me some of those trigger points for you during the process of Mary Pickford.
Okay, things that triggered me.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole process was triggering. Like it's a very vulnerable and exposing position to be in as what I can speak to as a writer, director, producer, artist, because I was wearing all those hats. So I had to present my vision to get money to back it. And it was my vision, but I was also doing the negotiations because I was also the producer. Mm-hmm. And taking feedback on the script that I wrote as a producer that wants to get the movie made, but also as the writer that poured my heart and blood, sweat, and tears into it. So it was like, I feel like for years, all the way through to now, it's been this constant flow of me getting other beings on board with this vision, whether it's for money or creative collaboration or distribution or marketing. It's like constantly feeding entities with why they want to align with this. It's gotten more and more refined to the point where it doesn't take so much energy to realize that this being or this entity is not a fit, or we can just move on. But sometimes you have to also lift the veil for people. They may be a perfect fit and just not see it. So you have to also sometimes be willing to put more energy into presenting the synergies and like the reasons and values that are shared. So it's just been consistently triggering in terms of like rejection.
There we go. Trigger. Right.
Less so around the being asked to step away as director, although that had its moments, but more so just at all different phases, because sometimes I'd get really excited about an investor, not because of the money, but actually I liked the person there and I wanted to work with the person and I liked what they stood for. Then we'd go down a path with them and then it would be like, never mind or something. And you're like, man, I was invested in this, you know? And then Hollywood rejection has been really hard for me. to transmute and realize it's not rejection, you know, but like to experience it as rejection.
Mm-hmm.
Women in Hollywood not supporting the story, all kinds of just companies and people and other artists and so on, not being able to give us what we wanted or needed at any given point, and to experience like a steady stream of that can like actually make you a little bit jaded, or at least can made me a little bit jaded for periods.
So I want to, because I want to get right to this. Okay.
Yeah.
So these trigger points that we have, and this is a big thing, right? Because we
And
all have.
yeah, we all have them. And I honestly didn't know, like, are they rejecting me, or are they rejecting Pickford, or are they rejecting the woman, or are they rejecting art, or like,
Right.
what's not like
Right.
meshing, you know, or gelling at this point?
So there are multiple ways we can handle our triggers, right? So
Mm-hmm.
one, let's just use rejection as the trigger, since that's one that you mentioned, and it's also very common in, we deal with it daily in Hollywood. If you're an actor, if you're a director, if you're a storyteller, whatever, you're dealing
So
with it all the
this
time.
is within the filmmaking process.
Right. And
Okay.
you're dealing with you know, putting your passion out there, putting your ideas out there, and then bam, let's just take the one for now, and I've got a couple others. Rejection, to deal with that, and then to accept that I'm rejected, and not to blame them. They reject me, F all of them.
No, I blamed them.
Yeah. Good. Okay, good. So not good that you blamed them, but
no, it is good. It's healthy to go through that.
But yes. What I'm saying now in the learning phase, in the experience, is okay. So how much does it benefit you now, looking back, to spend energy blaming them for rejecting you? Or go, okay, they're not in alignment with my vision. Cool. I've tried multiple ways to enroll them in that vision. They're not in alignment. Okay, cool. I was rejected by them, but I'm going to let go because I know my vision is going to happen. How did you work through that at the time, and what would you do? Maybe not do anything differently, because as you said, it's a learning lesson, but how would you navigate that now in your life?
I mean, as it relates to the Pickford project, it was a definitely fuel for, I'm like someone, and have been since I was a kid. I don't know where I stand now, but up until this point, let's say, rejection or someone seeming like they don't believe in me would drive me to work harder. I sometimes want to crawl into a hole and like shut down. It is absolutely not in my nature. I would threaten it all the time to my producing partners. I'm done. I'm shelving this project. Like, fuck them. I'm taking at least a week off. Like, just leave me alone. And they'd be like, okay. A few hours later, I'm like emailing like crazy. Like, I'm like, oh my God, something exciting just happened. They'd be like, I thought you were like off the project. I'm like, well, one day I will be. One day I'm going to mean it. But ever since I was a kid, it's like I was exposed very early and consistently to ideas of, you think you could do that? What? Kind of stuff from different directions, you know, whether society or personal or whatever. And it just like drove me so much to prove myself, which is like a method of survival, to be honest with you. And it's served me up to this point. I think that it's something I want to transmute in a sense, because there's nothing to prove. Like, I've figured that out now. And that's a work in progress, you know, process in progress. But
yeah,
rejection was fuel for me. I would leave it at that, for sure. Fuel.
And there's an element of, because this is one thing that the experience that I've gained over the last few years is that, when we're in that place of blaming others and it's their fault, or in this any kind of victim conversation with yourself, that you could lead to, oh, they're rejecting me, F this, I'm done, nobody believes in me, I'm going to go and put a blanket over my face, whatever. But in what you did, and this is where I want to really kind of like weave in responsibility, because what you do with that is you wove in, I am responsible for making this happen. Your rejection, cool, I acknowledge it, I accept it, and it's fueling me because I'm responsible. You're not putting the responsibility on them. So there's could be like, F them, they're stupid, they don't know what they're talking about, they don't see my vision, F them, I'm done. But what you did was you acknowledged your responsibility, almost an obligation, to tell this story. And so in that drive via rejection was a responsibility that really was the driving force for you. And yes, in our youth or in our greenery and our whatever naivety, it might be like, I'm gonna show them. Okay, but really, I think that never really comes to fruition. A thing that I'm going to show them is never really the thing that makes a thing happen. It really is that responsibility, that vision of, and that thing that you're drawn to create. I know, the things that I've created that have come out of like the intangible into tangible. Part of me was, excited that I got to show that I'm capable, first to myself, that I'm able to do this. And there might be like a lingering adolescent that's going, see, I did it, right? But more than any of that was this passion of storytelling, this drive toward a vision that I felt like intrinsically and spiritually connected to do, right? And that's where our responsibility as storytellers are.
Definitely.
So
I was definitely being led for sure by my connection to Pickford in the story. But yeah.
So there was something we talked about, because I love this because it's so big. And it's something we talked about a little bit around the project Dark Beauty that we're working on together. And it's when we're in conflict, if you do the Joseph Campbell, the hero's journey, when you look at the story structure from Aristotle, the Poetics, the story structure from all the way back to the ancient Greeks, story structure, beginning, middle, and end. We have exposition, we have rising climax, we have resolution, and then, the end. What we're looking at now, and I'm kind of throwing this out there, is that conflict really is not necessarily between you and I. It's not really between the character and the other character. It's the new idea is that there's a mechanism in which I am in conflict with self, right? And that's where our trigger points come in. What is this person triggering in me? And then I get to navigate that in a way that I get to have a conversation with this person that is not in absolute conflict, right? So those triggers that come up for us all, you had mentioned one, and I'm not going to say it unless you don't, just in case you don't want to go there today. You had mentioned one. We were in a conversation last week. I came over to your house. It was beautiful. How did that, and you don't have to answer it, we can save it for part two. How did that trigger that thing? I've said mine is scarcity or fear of not being understood, those lack or keeping score, things like that. You mentioned one. How did that come up in your process of making Mary, this film? And what are some things that you've done to navigate through that since then? Do you want to talk about it?
I mean, I did because it's, it's rejection. It's
Yeah.
like fear of abandonment is rejection. And why
Yeah.
would you be abandoned? Because I'm not worthy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why am I not worthy? And what am I not worthy of?
Yeah.
I'm not worthy of um, being here, being alive, being a filmmaker. Why would I think that? Well, no one ever told me I was, but I don't know. It just seems like so universal in a way, but like I think that because I experienced that love, that type of fear without being able to name it, as most children aren't. Um, Again, it was a driving force because I wanted to prove my worth. And if I could prove my worth, then no one would abandon me, you know? And so actually it became this beautiful tool for ambition and survival and like goal setting. And it's an energy source. I no longer wish to identify it as fear. I would like to just transmute it into acceptance and passion and inspiration. It doesn't need to be linked to fear anymore. That narrative no longer serves because actually, once it's identified and once you can see where it's motivated things, there's a part that's like heartbreaking because it's like, wow, I had a lot of like desperation and hunger and it worked out beautifully because I have a body of work and I'm here and I'm happy, mostly. But that fear doesn't actually need to be fear anymore because like once you realize that there's really no such thing as abandonment, it's the idea of it is about self-rejection. It's really about like there's no one that's going to tell you you're worthy, that's going to convince you of it unless you like cellularly believe it and know it. So it's just an act of radical acceptance to know that this is all within my like domain as a sovereign being, that like I get to decide I'm worthy. And I can take the stress off of myself in terms of impressing anyone or needing to prove myself, which will just happen naturally because you do really cool shit when you're determined, and that's fine. But yeah, so it's definitely a transformation in terms of letting go of that narrative, so to speak.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, and I love what you said. I just want to really clarify because yes, it was rejection. And then I just want to make sure that everybody hears like that. Another name for that is the fear of abandonment, right? And there's multiple names. And the challenge for us is to have the power and vulnerability and skill and leadership and desire to make a shift. And the way to do that, to make the shift in the world, is to make the shift here. And the only way to do that is to acknowledge self in the process, right? Acknowledge, that's my scarcity thing. That's my fear of abandonment thing.
But I think, and just to interject as well, because it's such an important thing that you're saying, that self is a very layered idea as well. And so we need to be careful with that word because self, capital S, is not the emotion. You can also like know that we're beings having emotional experiences, but I'm not these things that are passing through me. I'm not abandonment. I'm not scarcity. I'm a whole essence of beingness, and these are all aspects that are being personified through the human experience that like we don't actually have to identify with. We can just allow to like come through us, which I think has been a huge lesson for me, that energy in motion is emotion, that it can just come up and be used in creativity, or it can be released, or it can do all kinds of things if we don't like insist on getting stuck there, So
and that word stuck, it's, I think what causes concepts of limitations and what causes that feeling of being stuck is when we put all the responsibility outside of ourselves. You know, when we put all the attention, they did this to me, they rejected me, they're doing this, whatever. Instead of going, okay, cool, so they rejected me, maybe my messaging wasn't right on for them, you know, maybe I came on a little too strong, you know. I had an amazing awareness the other night. Like, I was talking to my partner and a really good friend of mine, and they were talking, and I was listening, and then it was my turn, I guess, to speak. And I said, okay, because, you know, that's how I present everything. Oh, yes. It's like a show before it's just a sentence that I'm going to say. And they both turned to each other, completely shut me out, and started talking to one another. I'm like, guys, what? I mean, that's feedback for me. Let me, like that's feedback. Like, I'm not getting listened to, right? And it was so obvious in that moment. And I looked at them and I said, guys, share with me. Like, I'm obviously responsible for that behavior. I'm not putting that on you, because if you valued what I had to say, then you would listen and you wouldn't have done just that. So how can I present myself in a way that you want to hear me? And it was a shift. And now I have, and Charlie turned to me and said, because this is what you do. Here's the deal, guys, right? And that's how I present everything. And so it's my way. My opinion is very opinionated and strong, and it works in many containers. But I get to shift based on where I'm at, who I'm speaking to. And as filmmakers, as storytellers, as visionaries, we get to have those acknowledgments of ourself and the emotions around the experience that we're having, as you said, that we are not those emotions. We can have them, they can be in us, but we're not them. They don't identify us, right?
Right. Yeah.
So good.
Yes.
So good. Is there something else you would like to share about something that really kind of stands out about your experience around Mary Pickford that you'd like to share?
I don't know.
What was a moment that you experienced that really just it made your inside just there has to be one of those.
I think when the union came to shut us down or get some money from us, that was really scary because we were in production, and it happens, like productions do get shut down, and I was again just not having it. Like, there's no way. We had to find a solution because we had an investor debacle, not with an investor that's on the project, but with an investor that was supposed to be on the project, let's just say. And so we didn't have the resources necessary to like solve the union issue in the moment. And it was a very questionable time, but I just kept,
I think they shut us down.
Going back to Zoom now. Are you there? Brionne? Brionne.
Okay.
Brionne.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So,
yeah, it was a questionable time, and I just kept my eye on the prize. Like, I'm not going to stop directing. I'm not going to stop directing. And one of the producers came up with a solution to get us a little bit of time, and then we found the resources, but it was hard. Every day we didn't know if it was our last day.
What I love about what you just said is, because I gave this gesture of, right? And that feeling of, whatever that feeling might be. It might be sadness. It might be anger. It might be whatever that restrictive feeling inside your chest, and can be what you said within a sentence and a half later was find a solution. And that's the producer, that's the visionary, that's the person that says, okay, here's an obstacle, cool. I'm not going to let this, I breathe through it, and then got to be solution oriented.
That was really where focus and meditation and like for real high vibrational awareness came in, because it was hard not to cower and be intimidated when multiple masculine beings in black leather jackets show up on your set to demand things and do things. So it was like that breathing, like, I'm not joking. I am literally not joking. But that guttural breath and that, let me go find my cinematographer and find out what the next shot is. Like, just stay there in the aesthetic and the vibration of that thing. That was what I had to do.
Yeah.
Even though my producers would swarm me and be like, you need to come deal with this. I'm like, I've got a shot to prepare. Like, I'm going to go over here, talk to you later. I trust you. Okay, bye. Right now, I'm just wearing the director hat. I'll be the producer tonight,
Yeah.
And I had a rule on the set, like on the actual physical set, that was no stress allowed. So my producing partners were rightfully stressed out, but I was so sensitive to their energy. It was like, consider the actual set a vacation. If you're not interested in taking a vacation, you can stay in the production office, you can stay outside. But that vibration of stress and fear, which I'm so sensitive to, and I'm in the trenches with you guys, but this is how I'm going to keep it alive and going and peaceful and exciting in the creative process, is by not bringing that energy into this space, this domain where actors can feel it and everybody else can feel it. And it was hard enough for me also as the producer, not just the director, to literally be wanting to know, did you guys find a solution? Like, let me check my phone. What's going on? But I was like, do not do it, Jen. Do not do it. Even though I had my moments where I'd check in, but I really had to stay focused. Otherwise, I was gonna cower. Break.
And
I didn't even say cower. I'm gonna say break. I felt like I was gonna break into pieces, if I went there. So.
And it just goes to show you and exhibit how important it is to surround yourself with a team of people that can take that on and that understand your vision, so allow you and support you and elevate you, and that you lay it all out. Like on my set, no phones. I haven't said no stress, but like that's what I imbue for sure. And from now on, that's certainly what I'm going to literally say. But, to lay it out and communicate that so that everybody knows that this is a sacred space.
It was a sacred space. Yeah. And that was important.
This is beautiful. Any other last final items around triggers or specifically background?
I think this is great. Like, I'd love to go more into the process at some point, but this was like an amazing conversation, and people can follow us at Mary Pickford Movie on Instagram, and keep up with the Paris International Film Festival for February, and pay attention to Brionne. I'm also curating a panel for the festival of artists that are not part of the film, but embody the spirit of what Pickford and her colleagues were about, which was artists uniting and like forming that company United Artists, and what that philosophy really is. So I love like connecting dots between, you know, artists and visionaries and doers, and that don't necessarily seem like they're conjunct, but yet when you get them in a room together, it's like, whoa, it's explosive, and you see how important it is for artists to unite. So that's going to be in February during the festival too, that panel.
Awesome.
Yay.
I'm so excited. And let's talk soon about doing a little mini screening here.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's just talk what that looks like, and whoever, like, I mean, we could probably have like 15, 20 people. Let's let COVID kind of whatever it needs to
and
do.
Hashtag Dark Beauty, new project.
Hashtag Dark Beauty.
All right. I love you.
I love you too. I'll call you later.
Okay, I'm going to go off Facebook. Thank you, people.
Okay.
Facebook.
Bye, guys.